And hello out there in Empower Network world and Project Titan world. Here we are live on the Empower Hour, 9 o'clock Eastern, Monday night, where you are about to hear from some pretty exciting, fun people that are going to teach you some things, tell you some stories, and like all good traditions and rituals here in our company, you're going to be surrounded by people that are going to elevate you, bring that positive vibration to new levels, and you're going to be excited tonight, I assure you. So, what I want to do right now is tell you a quick little story about a guy named Brian Couch. Brian Couch, I met just about 3 years ago in February in Miami at a live event, at an event that essentially changed my life based on what I learned from Brian Couch and what I learned from the other leaders there. And here's what you're all about to get access to. You're going to get access to Brian. Brian, the guy that's been traveling around the world. He's been to Colombia. He's been to Hawaii. He's been, well, I'll let him tell you all of his story. I'll let him share with you how he's traveling around the world on the money he's making from this business, and he's having the freedom that everybody truly wants. And then we'll come back around and we're going to share some other stories and some other learning kind of points. But for right now, it's my greatest pleasure to introduce one of my best buddies, Brian Couch. Come on out, Brian. Empower Hour is waiting for you.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Joe. It is my pleasure and honor to be here, guys. That was really cool meeting Joe back then in Miami, and that was kind of one of the big turning points for me in my business, because it was at that event that I really started kind of, you know, really coming out of my shell, stop being such an introvert and saying, you know what, it's time that I actually meet some people that are doing this for a living. I meet some people that are, that have the same kind of dreams and visions and goals, and actually want to make a lot of money leveraging an internet business, and so from that networking, from, doing some things like that, I partnered up with some people like Joe. I got to meet other people like, my multimillionaire buddy over in Sugar Land, Texas, Lawrence Tam, and it was through those connections, through those exposures of being around those people that things really started to change for me, and they changed pretty quick. I think maybe it was Jim Rohn, maybe, I don't know who it was, but somebody told me that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I know my girlfriend was reading this book. She actually pulled out this certain paragraph from there and showed it to me this morning, and it said that you either raise your standards to become like the people you associate with, or you lower your standards to become like the people you associate with. And your standards are important because, without thinking about it, you kind of drift to be like that. You can't really consistently outperform your own image. And learning how to tweak that and how to raise that, elevate it, to create the lifestyle that you want kind of effortlessly is really, really important. And it's some of the things we're going to be talking about here. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Brian Couch. I am from San Antonio, Texas. And I went out and, I was taught, my dad went to Texas A&M University. He got his degree in civil engineering and kind of created his own business, started a business, started doing foundation repair, and told me, Brian, just like everyone says, you need to go out there, you need to get your college degree. You should go to A&M. That's where I went. It was cool. And then things will be nicer. You'll be able to get a good job, you'll be able to make some money, and, work for a few years and see how things are. It'll move you up in the world. And so I did exactly that, and now with my experience in A&M was a little bit different, because I spent about 5.5 years. I wasn't as much of a student as I was kind of a partier, right? I was having fun, I was away from home, I was that guy, right? I was known as the guy that could, I was actually able to do a handstand on a keg where I could put my feet on the roof and shake everybody off to where they didn't have to hold me, and I could hold myself there. And so that was one of those really, really awesome things about me back then. And so when I first found out that the job world sucks, right? Because I went out there and I got a job and I got laid off, and I got another job and I got laid off, and I was like, this isn't everything it was meant to be. There's got to be more out there. There's got to be a way that I could travel. There's got to be a way that I could kind of live a better life, have a bigger dream. and I got exposed to a couple of different business models. I got exposed to a couple of different concepts, and I realized that there's a way for me from like lower middle class family to be able to go out there and actually reach the upper class. To be able to there and actually have a taste of the good life and of levels of freedom that I never really dreamed were possible for me. And so I actually got into network marketing. I started my first business, and I said, this right here, I saw how simple it could be. I saw the power of the business model, and I said, let's do this. I'm going to go for it. And so I told a ton of my friends, and I told a ton of my family, and ultimately nobody wanted anything to do with it. They saw me as the guy that could stand upside down on the keg. I'm not going to help them change their life and make money, right? That's ridiculous. Uh, so very quickly I realized, I'm not going to be able to figure this out with the people that I know. And so that I went searching. I'm a stubborn guy, and I said, I got to figure out a way to make this work. What about the internet? Before I joined, I went and I Googled it. I started doing my due diligence. I pulled out my phone and I start searching around, reading things about this and learning a bunch and saying, all right, this is what I want to do. Well, anyway, I was like, well, there's got to be a bunch of people on the internet. And so here I come to find out we're coming up on probably 3 billion people that are online, and I was limiting my business just to the couple of people who I knew that I didn't have a business relationship, that didn't see me as the person that could take them from exactly where they are in life to where they want to go in a short period of time, right, in an attractive way. They didn't see me as that person. And so when I got online, I said, well, we got to do things a little bit differently here. Let's get around some people who can elevate me, who can lift me up, who can teach me, how to do this in a way to where things are attractive, how to do this in a way to where I'm not limiting my business in one way, shape, or another. And so, I was talking to Lawrence one day, and he turned me on to a couple of strategies, and I started applying them. I started having some success, and one of those specific ones was leveraging Instagram, leveraging social media. Now, I had never really had an Instagram account. I didn't really know how it worked, but I just hopped on there and started messing with it, and then I followed what he taught me how to do. And one day, I see that I earned a commission, that I actually made some money, that somebody joined my team who had no idea who they were, and they were from Instagram. And so I reach out and I talk to that guy, and I get my buddy Joe here, who introduced the call here, to get on the phone and meet him as well, because when you meet people at events, you're able to work closely with them and help lift each other up. And so I meet to this guy, I talk to this guy, and it turns out that he's had multi-million-dollar operations before. He's had multi-million-dollar companies as an entrepreneur before, and he's been an entrepreneur for all of his life. And here I am thinking that old me, the guy that could stand upside down on a keg, is not the guy who would ever be able to work with somebody of this man's caliber. And here's somebody who I attracted him into my life from being around this group of people, learning some things that people as a part of Project Titan and Empower Network are able to learn. And I was just blown away. And so I actually want to bring him out and hear his story and have him share a few things with you. Derek, are you on the call?
Aloha, sir. How are you?
Aloha. I am wonderful, and welcome to Empower Hour, brother. You are awesome. You've had some incredible success really quickly with Project Titan, and you've been able to generate tens of thousands of dollars with what we're doing here. I'd like you to kind of come out here and share your story a little bit and share some values with the people.
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say I am so grateful for both you and Joe. Meeting both of you guys in the last year has completely changed my entire life, and it actually stems back to a goal I set a few years ago. So thank you, both of you, and for everybody out there to know that I actually met Brian on Instagram, which I still today think is so funny. It just cracks me up every time that I think about that, and I tell people about that. And of course, you introduced me to Joe, so thank you to both of you guys. You guys are amazing mentors. Yeah, I'll tell you, I was driving down the road yesterday with my best friend. I'm actually up in Big Bear Lake, California, sitting out here looking at the nice water. It's a beautiful blue sky. The clouds are rolling just perfectly. I mean, it's summertime. It's 4th of July weekend. Things are going well. But my best friend looks at me, who I've been best friends since 8th grade, and he literally says, I want a life that I feel like I don't have to take a vacation from. And that just sat me back and just made me just start to realize like how amazing my life really is right now. I didn't have to ask for any time off. And Brian alluded a little bit that I owned a business that we did about $40 million in sales, total brick and mortar. We had another one that did about $20 million in sales. But it was at that moment that I realized that, man, I am really living the dream. I've been living the dream that after my company went down and out, and bankruptcy is what I chose, that I sat down on a whiteboard in 2013 and wrote down the things that I was looking for in my life. I said my next venture has to be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and target dated. It has to be my why. It has to be written harmonious in yours. And I also wrote down, if I knew then what I know now, what would I do differently? And so I wrote on the whiteboard that I wanted to have something that's internet-based / computer-based, something I can do from anywhere in the world, something that allows me to create value for others and to serve others, something that makes me money 24/7, something I'm passionate about. And I didn't actually write this on the board, but something that had no liability. Because in my last business, construction and real estate, there was so much liability and so many employees that it just really bogged things down. And I was making a lot of money, but I was being so pulled in 1,000 different directions, working 90-hour weeks, week after week, month after month, year after year. And what seemed like the American dream at the time really was just me being hamstringed about what I really wanted in life. And so after everything started falling apart, fast forward from 2013 and 2015, I was able to actually meet Brian, like I said, on Instagram. And I'll tell you guys, things have just changed drastically since then. I've been traveling a ton lately. I'm learning so much. I mean, think about this. A year ago, I didn't really know much about the online world, except for how to check my emails, check my bank account, the Denver Broncos website, and just the basic surfing that I think that I used to do. It was like the top 10 sites, and those were the only ones I ever went to. Now I'm full on learning how to blog, how to learn SEO, Twitter, Instagram, all these amazing things because of what Empower has taught me. And from what the mentors like Lawrence Tam, Dave Wood, and of course the two amazing gentlemen on this call here tonight, is just sitting back like a sponge and just taking in everything I possibly could for the last year and just kept applying these techniques. I kept applying them, and then eventually it was like, I remember my first commission was like $7, but then it just kind of kept like climbing and doubling every month after that. And it wasn't because I'm this huge internet guru or I had any clue what was going on. It's because I plugged into the system and I just followed the things of what you guys were telling me and what the trainings were telling me. Then when we came out with Titan, I'll tell you what, that just blew my mind because that is right up my alley when it comes to that type of stuff. So, another choice I made after my company went out was to invest into myself. Because I really decided, instead of having $200,000 or $300,000 worth of overhead, 30 employees, 60 subs, and so much going on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to invest in something I know I can get my return on. And I knew that was me. And so I dove in headlong into personal development. I dove headlong into going to conferences. I started speaking at conferences. I started doing some coaching. And I started just bringing that aspect in my life to really dig down and deep about what is it that I want. How do I want to live my life? I started writing out what is it my life is going to look like in 5 years. Who do I want to be hanging around with? Brian, you said it earlier, you're the sum of the 5 people. I love that. Either you dumb it down or you pick it up. And I just think that makes such a huge difference. So I started going down that path. And now that we have Will Wood on board, oh my gosh, I was just jumping up and down because at the end of the day, like that type of information that he is teaching us now is priceless. I always tell everybody, if you're willing to do, self-development and to slow down and to really start paying attention to what's going on inside of your body and inside of your heart, all of the answers will come from within. And that's everything that Will is literally teaching us now to do. And on top of that, to make money doing that, oh my gosh, man, that is absolutely priceless with all of these things coming together, And I realized from doing all this and hanging around all these amazing people and learning all this stuff and just plugging into a system that my financial life has changed. I can work from anywhere in the world. I'm sitting out by a lake. Things are just amazing. I'm sitting in my buddy's 1991 Westfalia hanging out for the next 11 days on a road trip. And I realized that when I got up this morning, I was able to get some work done for a couple hours on the computer. And I'm like, but this isn't really work. This is just the life that I live now. And so for that, guys, I will ever be grateful for both of you coming into my life and changing things out. And I look forward for all the people that are on this call to click that link and get going, because when you start hanging around with amazing people, you literally are an amazing person. And the reality is, at the end of the day, sometimes you have to get lost in order to be found.
That's awesome, Derek. And thank you so much for sharing that. You know, you were saying some things in there that really resonated with me. And one of those big things for me was really being able to do this from anywhere in the world. The fact of having that internet-based business, and then learning from people who have done this before, right? Learning from people who have made the mistakes and grown, and created a lot of things that I wanted to create in my life. And so back in January, I actually had the opportunity to pay $1,000 to get some coaching from Will Wood. It was group mentorship, and by applying that stuff, I saw my business grow, by an additional 5 figures over the next 3 months. That I can definitely attribute to his mentorship, to what I've learned specifically from that mastermind, from that coaching and mentorship that he gave. And what was cool is, during those 3 months, I've actually been to, well, I guess outside of the U.S., 8 different countries so far this year. And the cool thing about it is a lot of those countries were places like Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Panama, Colombia, Dominican Republic. We stayed in a lot of these places, and the really, really cool thing about it is when you go to some of these places, they're absolutely beautiful, gorgeous tropical islands and stuff like that. But the dollar, the U.S. dollar that we're making money in here, is worth so much more than it is there. And so by being there, immediately, not only am I surrounded by the place that I want to be, surrounded by constant inspiration and motivation to make more things happen and change more lives and help more people, but I gave myself a raise. It's absolutely insane. And so, and I want to pass this back to Joe, because Joe has a different perspective on it. He's got a different look. And so, Joe, if you could share a little bit about what this has done for you and your family up there in Massachusetts. Come on out, Joe.
So all of you out there listening in right now, I know that you're probably feeling the same way that I was just 5 or 6 minutes ago. You're probably kind of feeling that deeper breath and that kind of relaxed sensation that all of a sudden you felt assured. All of a sudden you realized that Brian, Joe, Derek, 3 different men from 3 different backgrounds, but we all have a common bond. We all have something in common, just like you do as you listen in. And that commonality is that we all want a happier, healthier, more enjoyable life. We all have families, we all have friends, we all have futures that we want to look out for. But what divides us and makes us different is really our coping and our ability to see opportunity and then seize it. Many people, me included, have been, well, damaged at times. And me, going into my 50th birthday in August, have lived a life with multiple types of careers that brought me from being a Marine to a police officer to a trial attorney to an investigator that went to Afghanistan. I had to leave the courts to get away from adversarial process. And what did I do? I went to a place where I could step on a bomb and blow myself up and get away from my family. And my kids were just teenagers. So, yeah, Brian's right. We have such very different backgrounds. And what I've noticed, though, is that I'm old enough to be Brian's dad, and he and I are buddies because we have a common understanding. And Derek and I both have done major business, and we also share common interests. We also share that kind of heart hug value that Derek gives when you meet him at an event. He's known for his heart hug. So when you get to Dallas at this next event, you got to hunt Derek down just to see what the heck a heart hug is all about. So me being this former Marine, this cop, this kind of gruff guy, right? First time I meet Derek, it was at an event after Brian brought him in from an Instagram account, just like he said. And that's the first thing he did to me. He gave me this big heart hug. And I was okay with it. Now I give everybody a heart hug because it makes me feel good. And that's what our business is really all about, feeling good about yourself, having that self-worth. A lot of the people that I've been helping lately that have been just discovering, finding me, are women that are married to professionals that they gave up a lot of their own efforts in life to take care of children and to raise the household. But what they also sacrificed was their own ability to succeed and their own reward of achieving something. And now, because of this business that, you know, opens up doors to certain things, like, for instance, Brian Couch going around the planet meets this beautiful woman from Peru, and who knows where that's going to go, but every time I go to an event now, I can't think of just Brian anymore. Now I got to think of Brian and his girlfriend Sandy. And but for this business, but for his ability to travel, he would have been, you know, going through the typical, but he's not a typical guy. He just travels, and that's his passion. And he's learned how to do that passion using a business, frankly, that outperforms me when I was being a trial attorney, being a kind of super stuffed shirt, kind of traditional business owner, just like Derek was. And now Derek, now I, and now Brian all are doing this business because we love it. And, you know, Brian is actually kind of funny because I've been to, I think, maybe 10 events now. And before I met Derek, it was like, okay, where's my accountability partner? Where's Brian? Where am I going to go get in trouble at this next event and learn something and have fun doing it? Because I can be a little bit irreverent. And Brian, of course, always challenging the old guy. But the thing that I found really unique is that, well, if I'm going to be 50 in August, that means that I wasn't born like Brian with the internet in my back pocket. Which means that, like many of you listening to this call right now, wherever you are on the planet, you're thinking, oh my gosh, how do I make money on the internet? How can I do that technical stuff? Brian sat me down one day and he says, look, Joe, what are you thinking, man? You got the cell phone in your back pocket. You've been texting me all this time. You've been sending me emails and responding and cracking jokes at me all day long. And that same technical aspect is what you will leverage when you grow this business. And then I was put at ease. I was like, holy crap, I can compete with that young hipster. I can travel the world just like he can. So then what happened was, then I heard about this William Wood guy. And I went, because Brian and I were in the top 50 at the time, and we were invited to the Hero event, which was in Miami, and Will Wood came out, and he did this sabotage cycle training. And ever since that training, see, now I'm a guy that's been around a lot of different corporate trainers and performance this and all sorts of evaluation that. So I've built up all sorts of skeptical kind of blockages. But for the fact that I stepped up and I clicked the link, like the one to the right of this button here where you click to listen to us speak, I clicked one of those links, and that opened the gateway for me to be able to absorb all of the things that were holding me back. So now I got six-pack abs because I've got all day to get out there and run and lift weights and make myself a young man again physically so I can compete with Brian Couch when we go to the Dallas event, and then we get to kind of joke with each other because we've got a real team, real family kind of community. We have a lot of jokes and a lot of fun. But the fun part is Will Wood helped me open up a lot of the things that kept me down, kept me uptight, kept me focused on kind of a skeptical mind. And that was a sabotage cycle. And it's gone now. And it's changed my life. And that's how I met Derek, too. So it's all good. Brian, I think you should come on back out, my friend, and share whatever else you want to share.
Appreciate that, Joe. That's awesome. You know, like knowing Joe, I've learned a ton from Joe. I mean, here's a guy who's got a completely, just radically different background than me. Tons and tons of experience, and the same with Derek. You know, and the one thing that we all share in common is the fact that we want to improve our lives by improving others' lives. You know, you want to be of service, help people out, and do it in this 2016 age where we can do it from anywhere in the world. You know, whether Derek's in a Westphalia van and he whips out his phone and he hops on Empower Hour, or Joe's over there in his big 5-bedroom with his sauna, swinging back and forth, pacing back and forth in his living room. It doesn't matter where in the world we are. We're way more connected now than we ever have been before. And Dallas is going to be the place where we're going to have thousands of entrepreneurs from all around the world flying in, hanging out, and just really growing together. I think every single event is not only a place to where you can double your income and have massive business breakthroughs, but a lot of personal breakthroughs as well. You can meet a lot of friends that are going to be lifelong friends. In fact, it was at several of these events that I met a bunch of awesome people. I'm not going to go into an incredible detail on it, but I went over to Australia for 3 months, right? And I don't know really too many other people that can just, outside of this industry, that can just up and go to Australia, and not because I have a bunch of money just sitting in my bank account, growing old, but because I was able to work while I was over there. Well, anyway, when I'm there, as soon as I land in the airport, my friend Tien, a person that I met at the event, she picks me up and she takes me around the city, takes me to the Eureka Tower in Melbourne, in Australia there, tallest tower there. I can see out over the entire city because I was about to spend 45 days there. And so, I got to see all these cool places that I was going to see later. We went to the 1,000 Steps and did this hiking and stuff, and it was just cool having somebody that, literally on the opposite side of the world that I already knew, that was excited to show me around her town. And then I flew up north and I went to Sydney, and well, actually I met with a bunch of other people from our community in Gold Coast, Australia, Terry and Sarita, and then we went on up to Sydney, and my buddy Mike Dudley, another guy that I met at an event probably about a year ago, lives in Sydney, took me to the oldest bar in Sydney, took me to the cool places in Sydney that, we went to the Opera House and had a beer, and it was a great time. And then I went over to Mexico, and I'm in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and my friend Jody just meets me at the airport, and she's like, "You got to try this Mexican vodka." She's from like South Africa, but she lives in Mexico, and she shares it. And so I share all this to say that you can really, really grow an incredible network of people at these events from literally all around the world. And so now I'm proud to say that I've met people from everywhere, and I know that anywhere that I go, because of this community, there's going to be people there that are excited, that want to at least meet me up and have some dinner and show me, give me some recommendations. Because the touristy stuff is cool to do, it's fun to do, but going to a place and seeing what it's like for the people that grew up there, for the people that live there, they can offer a completely different experience. And that's the kind of thing that you're going to get by going to the event. And so I want to give Derek one more chance to kind of wrap this, or to kind of share his thoughts on this, and then we're going to let you go this evening. And I thank you very much for being on here, for spending the time. And if anybody here listening to me right now, whether you're on your phone or you're looking at your computer screen, listening in on us, if you want to come to the event, if you want to click on the link and get your ticket, I think you can actually, right now the price is like half price of what it's going to be. The price is only going up from here. If you're going to be there in Dallas, I'd love to give you a heart hug. But Derek, if you could come out one more time and share some final thoughts with us.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Hey, I just want to say thanks for everybody listening, and thanks for both you, Brian, and Mr. Joe, for again speeding my life and changing everything for me. And I'll tell you guys, if there's one thing that I've learned, is that you got to get to an event, and I'll tell you why. Because the first couple months I got in this, I remember I was spending so much time like just bugging Brian and Joe, asking questions, just kind of messing things up. But then when I got to my first event, um, you know what? The first speaker spoke, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting what they're talking about. And then when the second speaker came on stage and spoke, I was like, oh man, this is the magic. I've been waiting for this to happen. I'll tell you, it happens at the events because you get a chance to hang around with amazing people and you pick up so much information. You really have that breakthrough. You really have that moment where something it just clicks for you and it starts changing everything. And that's when I knew I was in the right place at the right time with the right people. Because at the end of the day, nobody else in this world is going to help you create the life that you want to create unless you want to create it yourself. And when you do that, you got to put yourself in a place where there's massive momentum and there's people that are going for the same thing. Because one of the biggest ways to hamstring yourself is to keep hanging around with the people or keep doing what you're doing. Because if you do what you do today, you're going to get what you got today. You got to change that cycle. You got to get a breakthrough. You got to get to Dallas because that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to meet these people. They're going to teach you that one thing in that one moment, in that one conversation at like 1 in the morning, and something's just going to click for you. It'll just happen. So, listen to your heart, listen to your soul. There's a reason why these things that are coming from inside of you are talking to you. Listening to them will be the best decision you'll ever make in your life. Otherwise, thanks for your time, guys. Take care. Aloha.
Appreciate it, Derek. And now I'm gonna go to Joe. See if well, actually, guys, I wanna share one more thing with you here, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Joe to let him just kind of close out this call, and thank him for closing it out and for opening it up. But guys, I remember this was one of the very first events that I ever went to was with this community, and it really changed something deep inside me. It did something that buying products and listening to trainings and Googling and just spending hours on YouTube and Google trying to figure things out, just really couldn't do. And that was that, I finally walked away with a feeling that, not only is this something that hundreds of thousands of people are making ridiculous incomes and having incredible lifestyles doing, but it was something that I could do, right? That I didn't have to stay in my cubicle and look at my plastic plant and my view of the parking lot anymore, that there was a way for me to do it. And coming out of that event, finally having the confidence that I knew exactly what it was that I needed to do and the motivation and the support network that I was actually going to do it, I went out there, I started working, I started applying exactly what I had learned at that event. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I'd travel. I took the 1 week of vacation that I had per year, and I went to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, with a bunch of friends. And so here I am. We all fly into Colorado. It's for Texas Country Music Festival, and we're listening to this Texas country music. And it was the first time that I had ever skied. Being from Texas, we didn't really do any skiing, and I had never really done any traveling before really I got involved with this community. And so we're up there, Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I'm up on top of this mountain. All my friends that they'd all ski before. They were gone. I was all alone. I'm just in nature. I'm sitting there with silence. I'm looking out over this beautiful view of all these mountains, just like snow-topped mountains, and I see like all the little people down like ants drinking beer and listening to music and having fun. And I pull out my phone to take a picture, and I get this message. I get this call. It's from this lady, and she's like, Brian, I saw what you were doing on the internet, and I just want to tell you I got started. I'm in, and I'm fired up. What do we do next? And I had to stop and sit there for a second. Like, here I am on top of this beautiful mountain on vacation, doing the thing that I love the most, hanging out with the people that I care about, and I literally just made money in my online business. Like, this is incredible. I got to figure out how to do this more, to where this happens every day, to where this happens several times a day. And that right there is exactly what I want to give you, and I want to give it to you in Dallas. And so, if you could be there on Dallas, I'll be up on stage sharing a few more things. I've got something that I want to share with you guys that all decide to attend. I'll be up there. Derek will be there. Joe will be there. And thousands of other people listening to this call right now are going to be there. And so my question is, are you going to be there? And I hope the answer is yes. And so right now I'm going to bring Joe back out. Joe, if you could share some final thoughts with us and close the call out. Thanks for attending, everybody.
So what I want to share in the closing of the Monday Night Empower Hour is that someone invited you here. Someone did you a tremendous favor. They guided you in a way that can only transform your life if you truly want that. And we're all here because we wanted that, and we got it. And what you put into something is what you'll get out of it, just the same way that Derek was sharing. And guess what? There's times in life where you just have to make a decision, and you have to make a change. If it's not for you, it might be for your family. It might be for a friend. It might be because you're a role model to people, and you need to continue to grow, and you need to continue to expand and help your community. I've met people that joined this community that were very wealthy, and they didn't come here to make money. They came here to learn how to use these systems and to get that very rare skill set that's only taught in one place with any real success, and that's right here. The people that click those links over to the right of the soundbite box are the people that have access to everything they need to transform their life. And when you come to the event in Dallas, you're going to hear Brian up on a stage and a bunch of other people like Lawrence Tam, a retired engineer, 33 years old, has earned over $2 million by unplugging from a traditional career and plugging into this thing we all call being an entrepreneur. And that is, don't take my word for it. Just pay attention. Have a little situational awareness. What is the world turning to now? The world is turning to more independence, more entrepreneurship, and how many jobs are being shut down. Places like Walmart closing down 300 kind of retail stores out there because things are moving online. So if you really have the urge to learn something about business today, you got to learn what it is that we're providing. And when you get to the event in Dallas, if you come in and you take full advantage, you're going to meet multimillionaires. You're going to meet people like Brian up on the stage, who I've seen on the stage more than once, sharing the technical nonsense. That stuff that people get tripped up on. That's why you go to the event, because when you're sitting at home, and even though the training modules are the best in the industry, there's always something that requires a little human interaction. And that's why you go to the events, because that's where you can shake the hand, and then you can say, Brian, tell me again how to get 700,000 viewers to YouTube. Brian, tell me again what it is about video marketing and that hypnotic storytelling that you do. What is it that worked for you that can work for me? And that's what you're going to learn. And trust me, I have been totally powered up by the material that Brian has taught on the stage. I can't wait to see what he's got to share, and I was super pumped when he invited me and he invited Derek to come out, because we do a lot of stuff together even though we're in different parts of the world. And any of you listening in right now, you're going to get a chance to work with us as well. And it doesn't matter who your sponsor is, who invited you here. We're all one big happy family, one big team, and this world is super abundant. So go ahead, click that link, make sure that you sign up for the trip, because right now it's getting down to the wire. It's that last minute. And frankly, the hotel rooms have probably already been sold out, and you're going to have to, kind of work something out to get in. And they might have opened up another block by now, I'm not sure. But in any case, now's the time. Go ahead and click the link. Thanks so much, Brian. You're awesome. Derek, you're awesome. All the other Empower Hour people that have been on before us, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of Empower Hour in the back office that you can listen to. If you like this type of format, if you like this style, this kind of relaxed, open, freewheeling, you'll have more than you can listen to and more than you can learn from. So just get started, and we'll see you all in Dallas.